Good morning. No, it's evening in the US. Okay. So good morning or good evening, everyone. What a year it has been. Although things have been fairly normal for me in Taiwan, I know that many of you have gone through a tough year in the US with the pandemic and your country's internal affairs. Fortunately, we are all here now. So I hope you can all put down your worldly worries. The only thing you need to stress about now is how to enjoy yourselves during this Dharma retreat and learn as much as you can. Use this as a circuit breaker, an opportunity to reset, reboot, and recharge. While we are very fortunate to be able to gather for the Dharma, many people cannot. Listening to the Dharma creates good merits for us. So, at the end of each talk, I would like us to dedicate the merits for a speedy recovery of peace and stability in this world. Let us use our merits to wish the world well. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I think so. Thank you. So now let's turn our minds to the Dharma and focus on this year's topic, Nirvana. I hope this topic is not too scary. It is difficult, but I promise I will make it easy for you. Okay, now you can start to stress. Just a little joke. Okay. Okay. After all that we have been through, I thought it best I take you all to Nirvana. But sadly, I don't have that ability yet. Maybe in some future life. But for now, I can try to help you understand the Buddhist Nirvana a bit better. Hopefully, it will inspire rather than scare you. Venerable Yin-Shun provides a very good teaching on Nirvana. It is quite different to what you may have come across. Based on his teaching, we will look at the meaning of Nirvana as a general spiritual concept. Then, we begin to look at it from the Buddhist perspective. Here, Venerable Yin-Shun points out we need to understand the problem of life and death in order to appreciate Nirvana. Then, we look at the common Buddhist meaning of Nirvana, and finally, the more heaving-going stuff. If you get lost here, don't worry. Just absorb what you can. Okay. Nirvana, this word that many people know, whether they are Buddhist or not. Do you know this Nirvana? It is a rock band, but we are not interested in this Nirvana. Similarly, other Indian religions also have the concept of Nirvana, but we are not interested in the Nirvana too. As Buddhists, we should learn about the Nirvana the Buddha taught. Nirvana in Buddhism is the highest ideal for Buddhists and it is also known as the place all sages attend to. Attainment of Nirvana holds a key role in Buddhism, similar to how Christians aim to be reborn in heaven. But some people hear this and think of Nirvana as some other place they go to, but actually it's not. Buddhist practitioners in general say they learn Buddhism to end their suffering, and in particular to end the cycle of life and death. It is true that a key aim of Buddhism is to end cyclic existence. Those who can truly end cyclic existence attain Nirvana. So what exactly is Nirvana? We must have a proper understanding concerning the meaning of Nirvana in order to accept it as our goal and work diligently to realize the attainment of Nirvana. In Buddhism, the meaning of Nirvana is very profound and hard to comprehend. Fortunately, Venerable Yin-Shun has provided an introductory level teaching to explain Nirvana. So don't worry, you will all understand Nirvana very well by the end of these talks. The word Nirvana is found in Indian language and was not a new word created by the Buddha. Brahmanism in the past and the present Hindu religion also take Nirvana as the place they attain to as their goal. Nirvana can be regarded as the common ideal in Indian culture. Although the word is the same, different religions in India have different meanings. From the viewpoint of the Buddha, the Nirvana in the other religions are not the ultimate state. The simplest and the basic definition of Nirvana by non-Buddhist religions is the satisfaction from material enjoyment. Like this, here is an example. A heretic who, after finishing a meal, patted his belly and then said, "This is Nirvana." Some other Indian religions defined Nirvana as the cessation of the breath or the apparent cessation of mental activities. Little do they know that such states still fall within realm of meditative concentration. So what then constitutes the Buddhist view of Nirvana? Nirvana includes the meaning of negation and dissipation. The ancient Chinese translation of Nirvana was elimination or eradication, which contains the meaning of something dissipating, disappearing, and also transcending. The Tang Dynasty master Xuanzang translated it as complete cessation. complete here embodies the meaning of perfection, where all virtues that can be attained are attained. And cessation means to end all, where all unwholesomeness is brought to an end. Apart from the meaning of dissipating, transcending, and complete cessation, which may seem negative to some Western listeners, Nirvana also includes the positive meanings of freedom, happiness, and comfort. The word happiness is another word that can be used to reflect Nirvana. Naturally, this happiness transcends the ordinary worldly happiness. So, drawing on the translations from Asian masters, Nirvana is the wholesome ideal state of equality, freedom, and happiness. Now, let's look further into the meaning of Nirvana in Buddhism. To understand Nirvana, it is best to start by looking at life and death. If we do not understand life and death properly, we will not understand Nirvana. This is because the meaning of Nirvana is dissipation and happiness, and what dissipates is the cycle of life and death. The cycle of life and death brings the suffering, and so being able to transcend the cycle of life and death is happiness. This is the same as how brightness is the opposite of darkness. Therefore, what is the cycle of life and death? First, let's look at the meaning of life and death. Take humans as an example. From conception in our mother's womb, birth, growing up, aging from youth to old age, and then finally death. This process is the manifestation of life and death. What is the problem with life and death? The problem is that death does not mean everything ends forever. Sometimes we hear people commit suicide because they have struggled with terrible mental or physical illness or trauma and so on. They think that dying will end the pain and suffering. According to the Buddha Dharma, although the ending of this life may provide temporary cessation of that suffering, it does not mean we will suffer no more. So, fundamental view of the Buddha Dharma is that we are a sentient body with a sentient consciousness. After birth, there will be death, but death does not signify there is nothing left. After death, there will be another birth. This present life also arose after a previous death. Since beginningless time, we are born after death and die after being born. We have always been likeless, going from birth to death and death to birth continually. Just like how the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, setting then rising again and again. Generally, most religions believe in a future life. That is, they believe after this death, there is another life. For example, Catholicism and Christianity teach that after death, if one is not born in heaven, then that means they have fallen into hell. However, they only talk about the next life and do not touch on the past. The Buddha Dharma teaches that after death, there's a birth, and this allows one to understand that before this birth, there was a death. That is, we have always been in an endless cycle of birth and death, and birth again. Therein lies the problem about life and death, and it is a big problem too. This is like a country that has had a period of harmony, but then becomes divided, and after a period of division, becomes harmonious again. That means after chaos, there is order, and after order, chaos arises again. Historically, this has always been the pattern. Just look at our recent history. The fighting in the Middle East affects the world. We hear of peace talk and ceasefire. Then that is broken and fighting starts again. Then a new peace talk and ceasefire, and again it is broken. Living through these cycles are the people, and for them it is a desire to have peace. But all they get is suffering. It is hopeless when one is caught in such a cycle long term. And the same applies to each being as we cycle through life and death. The ideal is for a lasting peace and order. That is, once order is established, it should remain and no chaos arise again. Each of us, after we are born into this world, we strive for material gains and enjoyment, but constantly fail to fulfill all our wishes. Among human beings, there are all sorts of agreeable and disagreeable relationships, and many situations of right and wrong. All this lead to pain and suffering. Even if we get along really well with everyone in the world, our bodies will contract illness and injury. This body will age and eventually die. As a Buddhist, we should recognize that being caught in the process of birth and then death, we experience all sorts of pain, hardships, and suffering. This is a fact of life. If death was the be-all and end-all, then even if we regress to be the scum of society, it does not matter. However, the truth is not so. When this life ends, after this death, there's another birth, right? Sometimes we are born in the heavenly realms, which seems to be a bit more enjoyable. But then, when that life comes to an end, we may regress to a lower realm and be born back as a human or worse, into the hell, hungry ghosts, or animal realms. We are all caught in this cycle of rising and regressing, and then rising again. A real life roller coaster, isn't it? We hopelessly continue from one life to the next during enduring suffering that seem to have no end, and many do not even realize this. So, of course, life and death is a big problem. So we have to realize this fact. Humans living in this world at times may be in good situations, such as being rich, powerful, or being able to make literary or inventive achievements. These people may gain respect and admiration from others and live a life of comfort. When experiencing such a life, they may think, what's wrong? Life's great, LG, okay. However, as time goes by, the wealthy can become poor. The powerful can be toppled. Literary achievement may be worn out, and inventions can be superseded. What once was a good life has now evaporated, and that loss can cause people to experience suffering and depression. Such examples are common in this world. You just have to look at the rise and fall of many leaders in the world, and even recent ones here in the US and other countries. On a similar scale, you have ordinary people who may have built up a business or career, but then lost it all. There are many situations of gain and loss in our lives, which take us on a roller coaster of emotions and experiences. In this kind of continual life cycle, when we see it for what it really is, when we realize we have a certain wanting, we want to attain lasting freedom and happiness in this life. This is the same as seeking universal lasting peace. Humans generally have a fear of death, but is dying really scary? If we think about it, we feel scared when we are in an unknown situation. We have little or no control. So, of course, people generally feel scared about death because they don't know what it is like and where to next. But if we truly believe and understand the Buddha Dharma, what we should be scared of is that after death, there is a life again. Here, life means there will be suffering again. Moreover, the next life could be even direr, and we are completely helpless to court it, to change it. Religions all have this same ideal, except for Confucianism, which is not really a religion. It does not place importance on life and death, and hence do not see the problem of life and death. Confucius says, without understanding life, how can one understanding death? But concerning what happens after death, Confucianism simply leave it out. In contrast, Buddhism pays close attention to this matter of what happens after death. So how then do we resolve this problem? How? We must start by recognizing that human existence is suffering. We should know that illness is suffering. Good health is also a sort of suffering. When our career tumbles, there is suffering. And when we have wealth, that is also suffering. A healthy person, even if they never get sick, they still cannot avoid growing old, while a wealthy person can always become poor. Even when a country establishes stability in governance, chaos and instability can arise at any time. This is because the possibility of instability has not been fundamentally resolved. Not only is there suffering in this human realm, the hell realms are suffering, and even the heaven that theists long for also has suffering. This is because after being born in the heavenly realm, the possibility of regression has not been resolved, and so we can still regress to the human and even lower realms. The underlying nature of human existence includes the causes for pain and suffering, and there is no way to make things last. That is why the continuous cycle of life and death is fundamentally one of pain and joy, tears and laughter. These aggregates of the body and mind, this process of cycling through lives and passing through deaths is the true vexation. Most religions generally split a person into physical body and soul. The thinking is that when a person dies, the physical body decays, but the soul remains forever and does not change, or that it is reborn in a heaven. Most theist religion teaches this theory, and even some worldly teachings incorporated into Buddhism has a similar saying. The Indian language has a special term for the soul. They call it self, Atman. Some of Indian religions believe this self was originally free and happy, but it is unclear how or why the self has transformed into a sentient being on earth that goes through suffering just like prisoner locked up in jail. Of course, each of the Indian religions have their explanations. In general, the concept is that if one is able to liberate it from this world of suffering, then one returns to the state of being free and happy. This is the theory in some Indian religions. There are also groups that pose the questions: if there is no self, then who or what cycles through life and death? Who or what ends this cycle of life and death? Such questions stem from the concept of self. Buddhism does not approve such an eternal self that is free and happy. Instead, Buddhism teaches that this view and attachment to a self is the fundamental cause leading to the suffering of life and death. The teaching on selflessness is the unique point where Buddhism departs from all other religions. The person and the soul concept in theistic religions cannot be substantiated under the investigation and scrutiny of science. Therefore, the Buddha merely teaches about the coming together of body and mind. That is, the body and mind are compounded and continuous phenomena. Through his wisdom, Buddha observed that there is nothing more just the five aggregates of form, sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness, as well as the six elements of earth, water, fire, wind, space, and mind, or the six sense organs of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. In summary, sentient beings are the combination of activities from the body and mind, which creates the independent notion of a self. As a result, the Buddha Dharma is unlike other religions that teach about a real self or permanent soul. So nothing is permanent. Everything become impermanent, right? Instead, the Buddha Dharma teaches one sees only Dharma where there is no intrinsic self. The word Dharma can be used to refer to many things in Buddhism. Here, when the quote says one sees only Dharma, the word Dharma refers to truth, which indicates that all beings are merely results of combination of body and mind. Conception and birth are merely the beginning of the combined activities of the body and mind. When death approaches, the old combination of body and mind disappears, and subsequently a new combination of body and mind activities begin. The continuation from one life to the next is explained as just the combined activities of a body and mind, so no self. Another important aspect we should understand about life and death is the role of karma, namely, results or outcomes arise from karma, and karma arises from defilement. In last year's Dharma talks, I focused quite a bit on karma. Can you remember? I'm sure you all remember the teaching very well. So the section should be clear as mud. I think you remember, but you probably don't understand clearly. The principle of karma, as taught by the Buddha, is universally accepted by all schools of Buddhism. Within one lifetime, from birth to death, sentient beings in their family, society, and country would have undertaken countless activities and spoken numerous words. All this bodily activity and verbal expressions would have been driven by wholesome and unwholesome mental activities, and they leave behind a latent force that is either wholesome or unwholesome. This force is often referred to as karma, or more correctly, karmic force. Do you remember what the word karma means? Yes, it means action, right? So sometimes when we say karma, it can be referring to the action or deed, or it can be referring to the latent force that has been left behind by an action or deed. The latent karmic force resides deep in our bodies and mind. Karma profoundly affects each being and determines everything concerning each being. This is something that we all can experience personally. For example, if we carried out a good action the day before, subsequently, when we think about that action again, we will feel delight, isn't it? Action is over, but it still affects us. Similarly, if someone committed an unwholesome deed or deeds, the outcome is the same, but instead of feeling delight, their inner mind experiences suffering. They feel as if a huge rock is crushing their heart, and they feel uneasy no matter if they are sitting or sleeping. Unwholesome karma can obstruct us from becoming good in this life. For example, if someone gets involved with criminal gangs, they will fall under the gang's influence and control, and it will be hard to leave and start anew. Not impossible, but it will be hard. This kind of unwholesome force will continually affect the person, and upon death, they will reap the undesirable fruits of their bad karma. Wholesome karma in this present life can counteract unwholesome karmic forces and lead us towards wholesomeness. In future, due to our wholesome deeds, we will attain desirable fruits that bring happiness. Carrying out wholesome deeds yields wholesome and happy results, while committing unwholesome deeds yields unwholesome and painful results. Any decent person would normally encourage others to do good and cease evil. But why should we carry out good deeds? Most people can understand and even see that doing good or bad deeds will have a good or bad effect on their family, society, and country. This is something that is easily observed. But do you remember last year's teaching on karma? Who experiences the strongest effect of our actions? Do you remember? No? The answer is we ourselves experience the strongest effect of our action. Okay. For instance, among humans, Some are smarter and some are not so smart. Some are healthy while others are weak or suffer many illnesses. And then towards some people, we feel an affinity about, but not to others. And some people seem to have everything go their way, but others meet with many setbacks. The myriads of different circumstances people face are a result of past karmic forces created in this life and past lives. Hence, we are taught that results arise from karma. Only the Buddha can thoroughly explain and resolve this problem of karma and its results. Theistic followers are unable to explain everything. For example, once there was a person who took a blind man to see Jesus. Do you know this story? Well, that person asked, why is this man born blind and whose sin is it? The blind man is also created by God. But why are other people's eyes are able to see while this man's eye cannot? This question in theistic religion is essentially inexplicable. Nevertheless, Jesus was not deterred and answered that this is simply because God wanted to reveal his power and great ability through this blind man. Jesus then touched the blind man's eyes, and they were able to see. Seeing the miraculous healing ability of Jesus, many witness, praise God, and believe in God's powers, right? However, the actual question of why was he born blind was never really answered. In our present world, there are still many people born blind. What is the reason? Is it still because God wants to reveal his powers? If these people who are born blind are unable to meet with the medical treatment to restore their sight before they die, and if this is God's intention, then isn't it this a bit cruel? So not many blind people can gain the vision during their lifetime. Quite a lot, they are blind and then die. So the answer that this is because the God want to reveal his power doesn't seem reasonable, actually, to me. Okay, it's time to end the talk today. We got 8 minutes left. So any question? If you have any question, you can raise your question and I will try to answer your question, okay? Larry? So we got some time to discuss the content of today's Dharma talk. Is it easy or difficult to understand, Larry?
I'm one of the more advanced students, so
Yeah, so.
it,
So
well, it's also covering some familiar ground too.
yeah, true.
So
So hopefully everyone can catch some idea about Nirvana. So today, many parts of my talk, the majority of my talk is about the problem of life and death. But hopefully this won't bring you a negative idea that everything is wrong in our life. We still can have many positive points, but we need to realize there is problem. Then we have emotion, intention to practice the Dharma, to resolve, to sort out the problem. Yeah, no matter how happy we are, we still have many worries and sufferings. So that's the problem. Any question, Justine?
Well, there's one thing I do have to say about death is that sometimes it's the result of, and I'm just being realistic and I'm getting nitty gritty, but it's because of the kind of care they're receiving. If they're at the hospital or wherever they are, and if there aren't enough people on staff, that could cause a problem. Or if they're unwilling to help, even though the person's being paid, you know, I had people, I was there alone with a guy who died the next weekend, and I kept trying to call somebody in, and then I had to pick up all the pieces of what happened to him while all of this is happening. I don't want to get into too much detail, but what I'm saying to you is he was stuck in a recliner, and and let's not talk about money here, but it's to do with whether people are actually showing him the compassion he needs in the end of his life.
Yeah. So you are saying that you want to have someone, but you didn't achieve, right?
I couldn't because he just had no way of getting to the bathroom, and usually
Yeah,
that it's two people with somebody dying, and he was
yeah,
stuck there, and I ended up having to use wipes to clean everything up. Just leave it like that. What I'm saying to you is that's not proper care, and this is in an expensive place. So it
yeah,
was appalling, and I'm talking about care here in another sense of death, but it still relates to
yeah.
the ending of life, and it still relates to karma. Everything relates. So
Yeah, exactly. So it's good to have some assistant to help us when we are old and become inability in have unable to do things by ourselves. But we need to how can I say train ourselves to be independent as much as we can. Otherwise, it's fortune we have someone else to help us. Otherwise, we have to
well, I
help
say to you,
ourselves.
the
Yeah,
person was amazing in the way he acted with the end of his life. He was that independent, and I tried to maintain that independence by being independent too.
yeah. Good. Yeah. You accumulate wholesome karma. Very good. Very well. Good. Keep on going.
Oh, come on. I'm not like some of these advanced students. Get in the nitty gritty.
Yeah, you perform very well, I think. Yeah. Okay. Any other question?
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't, Sunhee, I don't
Yes.
quite know how to put this question, but I will try.
Yes.
If nirvana is such a transcendental state where it goes beyond worldly happiness, as you put it, and it is in relation to life and death, you go beyond life and death. Is nirvana something that can be achieved in
This
this
life.
present lifetime, yes, or does it have to follow the death of this period?
Do you remember? Have you heard of the story of the Buddha? No. And let me tell you a little bit. Well, the Buddha attained Nirvana when he was 29, I think, 29 or 31. I can't remember exactly. So Nirvana is something we can achieve in present life if we practice the Dharma diligently or properly, and it's possible. But the how can I say? The problem is we don't have enough prerequisites. We need to prepare to accumulate enough prerequisites, then we can achieve nirvana here, this life. Is that clear?
Well, it sounds like a Buddha. Buddha is an enlightened person.
Yes.
So you must be enlightened in order to achieve nirvana during this lifetime.
Yeah, actually, enlightenment means we attain nirvana. It's the same thing, but different aspect to describe the status where the Buddha attained.
Well, we do say this is transcendental and the only Buddha achieved that. How do we know what the true nirvana is like when we say it is beyond this worldly happiness? How do we recognize it if we are not enlightened, I guess?
I see.
It's very difficult to put this into question because I'm not an advanced person in this matter, but these are the very fundamental questions I have every time we talk about Buddhism.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And it's hard to understand and hard to answer. I will try. Actually, the sutra, the Buddhist texts use some description to describe the situation of nirvana, something such as freedom, happiness, tranquility, etc., etc. So the transcendental states means my experience, the experience states where you feel free, happy without any burden, and the defilement or vexation cease. The vexation or defilement do not arise anymore. So it's a description to describe nirvana, and also we can test if we attain the nirvana or enlightenment. The way to test whether we get there is to investigate our mental activity. You know, if we still have defilement or vexation, it shows we are not there. It's just a meditative state. We just temporarily experience the peaceful situation.
So then let's say, just to give you an example of a person who is not, we call a fool, who doesn't have, the normal mindsets of pain and pleasure, and you're always happy because you are a fool. We call that kind of person a fool. Doesn't know a pain, doesn't know a guilt, none of those humanly emotions, I guess. And is that part of is that similar to experiencing nirvana?
No, I don't think so. For example, when we face sad events, many people have emotion and may cry, right?
Yes.
But for the enlightened people or person, they have a feeling, they know the situation is sad, but they probably don't get into a situation of depression, something like that. They realize, oh, it's a sad situation, and quickly the person try to think about how to help the situation improve. You know what I mean? They do something positive, not just feel sad. Can you understand? It's difficult to. Yes. Well, you can try to feel or to understand the nirvana more.
Well, did Buddha, when Buddha realized nirvana, was he already an enlightened person, or was it before he was after he was enlightened?
Yeah, at the same time. Enlightened means attain nirvana, but we still have
you don't have to die to realize nirvana. You can in this lifetime you can realize nirvana.
Yeah, nirvana means cessation of defilement or cessation of vexation.
So when we say it's the death, nirvana is related to death. That meaning death of our vexations, not literal physical death.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, but when the Buddha died, it is also called nirvana. You know what I mean? The cessation of all body and mental activities. So nirvana can apply to many situations, but here the nirvana we talk about is the cessation of vexation.
So you don't go through their ups and downs of human emotions, no sufferings, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a bit clear.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's time we have to finish the talk because the Buddha image appear.
My subtle way of saying, wrap it up. Well, not enough, just wrap it up.
You can discuss each other. Maybe you can discuss with member Yan-Rong. His English is much better than mine. So probably she can explain clearly to you about nirvana. And also I will discuss more about nirvana in the next few days Dharma talk. Okay, hopefully you can sort of experience partial nirvana, partially experience the happiness of nirvana. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.